this to end in fire, then we shall all burn together. Watch the flames climb high into the night, calling out, Father, oh, stand by and we will watch the flames burn over and on the mountainside. And if we should die tonight, we should all die together. Raise a glass of wine for the last time, calling out, Father, oh, prepare as we will watch the flames burn over and on the mountainside. Desolation comes upon the sky. Now I see fire inside the mountain. I see fire burning the trees. And I see fire hollow and soul. I see fire burning the breeze. And I hope that you remember me. Too close to questions on Zoom, but I think that there might be quite a few questions. Hold fast and we will watch the flames burn over and on the mountainside. Desolation comes upon the sky. Now I see fire inside the mountain. I see fire burning the trees. I see fire.
The doctors are joining a quarter past, and then yeah, it'll be good. I just want to figure out how to make this loop. This video that I want to play. It's fine. Let me just Google loop in GRC.
Oh, like while you're waiting?
Yeah, you know.
Josh, this is so extra.
I know. Have you met me? Just toggle the loop
Look how
button.
fancy you look.
Let's see if this works.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks, Jen.
feelings is a no. Let me tell you how it goes. Curves the word, spins the verb. Loving it curves so freak what you heard. Rolling with the fatness, you never quite know what that happens. You got to pay to play. Just for shorty bang bang to look your way. I like the way you work it. Top notch, trump tight every day. You're blowing my mind, baby, in time. Maybe I can get you in my ride. I like the way you work it. No diggity. Bag it up now. I like the way you work it. No diggity. I'm about to bag it up. I like the way you work it. No diggity. I'm about to bag it up. I like the way you work it. No diggity. I'm about to bag it up. I like the way you work it. 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 Bag it up now. I like the way you work it. 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 Bag it up now. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Damn, that feels good. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Play on, play on. Bag it up now. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Damn, that feels good. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is freaking awesome. Now I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is freaking awesome. Now I'm gonna pop some tags. No diggity, about to bag it up. I'm gonna pop some tags. No diggity, about to bag it up. I'm gonna pop some tags. No diggity, about to bag it up. I'm gonna pop some tags. No diggity, about to bag it up.
Hey there.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Hello.
I'm Josh, I guess.
Hey, Josh
after all the
Bobo.
emails.
Hi.
It's nice to
Nice to
officially
meet you. Nice
we-
to meet you.
We're just waiting for 2 others, but
Sure, no problem.
thanks for joining early. I really appreciate it. I'm just trying to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Shame it's so fun.
Cool. Thank you so much.
It must be crazy having to still run SHAWCO in COVID times.
Yeah, it's been interesting. And now, I mean, we had so many people sign up for this talk.
Yeah.
And Zoom only has 100-person cap. So, like I said in that email, we're streaming on YouTube now. So, I wish I could show you the setup around me. It's ridiculous. We've got like 2 screens and like a microphone.
Are you at varsity? Are you at home?
No, I'm at home.
Okay.
Yeah, luckily.
Shame it leaves.
Yeah, luckily. Otherwise, it would be a bit of a mission. Let me just see if anyone else is missing.
Oh, shame. My video is off.
No,
Hi.
Sorry, excuse me looking this way. That's just where the Zoom screen is for now.
Shame, that's fine.
Do you have any slides that you...
No, I'm just going to chat.
Okay, great. All right, then there's no need to stress about that.
Yeah, no.
Let me read you your introduction quick, and you can tell me if
Sure.
you're happy with it. Sorry, let me turn my mic up. Is that better now?
Ooh, yeah, that's great.
Okay, sorry, that was down. Okay, tell me if this, if you're okay with this, you want to add anything. Okay. Dr. Bonisile Bobo Mtombeni is originally from Welcome in Free State. She graduated Welkom. Sorry, very English. Like literally from the UK. Welkom. Okay. She graduated UCT Medical School in 2019 and is currently a first-year intern and the intern representative at Helen Joseph / Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital Complex in Johannesburg. She says that she is passionate about serving and helping people and exploring the fullness of life.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, that's a goodie.
All right, great. Let's see if Dan... I'm not sure if you'll know the other speakers. We've got
yes, Dan Hildenays.
Yes, he was 2 years above you, I think.
Yeah, he's about 3 2 around there.
Okay, and then
Trisha.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you know everyone.
We've met.
Cool. Hey,
Hello,
Dan.
Dan.
Hey, Bobo, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. How's it
Good.
going?
Nice to see you.
How's Josie living?
I'm in Joburg.
How's Josie time going?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty rough.
Little Wu time.
Yeah, no, basically. Yeah, we're drowning. We're drowning right now.
Oh my gosh.
But it's fine. Yeah, what can we say? Where are you at the moment? You're doing concert.
Rural Limpopo, so you don't want to know.
Wow. Okay. But is it good?
No, it is bad.
I need a chilled concert post, Dan. You have to help me. Chilled.
Don't come here just because it's not nice. But I mean, there are chilled ones.
No, I need chilled and beautiful and close to
Okay.
civilization. Chilled, beautiful, close to civilization. Maybe Eastern Cape.
Null sprays. Do it.
Null spray.
In Mpumalanga. Sabi. There's Swallow. No, it's like Kruger Park. Weekends in like the whole Lowveld area. No, it's
Beautiful.
magnificent.
Okay,
No,
I'll put those on the list.
And what? It's like 3-4 hours from Joburg. If you really want to get there, it's fine.
Not too bad. Yeah, I know. Definitely need to reevaluate.
Just stay clear of Limpopo.
Noted.
Okay. Yeah. All right. This seems to be the resounding. That's come up a lot now. Just don't do rural Limpopo. Oh my gosh. Um, let me just jump in quick. So no one's got slides, right? No one's like. Okay, that makes my life so much easier then. Okay, that makes my life so much easier. Okay, cool. So basically, if you look in the participants tab, you'll see there's like 20 whatever people waiting. We're expecting like 80 or so in the Zoom call, and then we're gonna live stream this on YouTube. I know there's already like 30 people watching on YouTube, so that's cool. You did all consent to that, right? I'm sure I emailed everyone. No. Okay. Okay, cool. In that case, then, I'm just gonna. Yeah, everyone's looking good. Everyone's looking good. Um, so basically, does anyone want to go first? Anyone want to go last? It's just the three of you tonight. Cool. Shall we go first year to second year to ComServe? Okay, cool. You okay with going last, Dan? Yeah, basically. Great. Okay, cool. Um, well, cool. My biography thing's set up that way already. Cool. So then basically I'll just pin like spotlight your video, and then speak for however long you want to speak for. Say what you want to say, and then once you finish speaking, we'll just let the YouTube chat and then the people in the Zoom chat ask questions. Sound good? And then we'll go to the next speaker. Yeah? I mean, I prefer to do it after, because I don't know if you guys have notes or you've written stuff down or whatever, but I don't want to interrupt, so you can like do your thing, or we can ask. It's up to you, really. Like, we haven't done a Zoom intern talk before, so yeah. But if only this coronavirus hadn't happened earlier, we would have got on Zoom so much quicker. But yeah, okay, cool. So basically, just if we can, we'll all keep our videos off. I'll keep mine on because I'm going to show like the thing I made, and then I'll introduce everyone before they speak. Unmute, turn your video on, do your thing, and then I'll relay the questions, or the people in the Zoom chat will ask you questions. Sound good? Okay, cool. Then we'll see you all in 5 or 6 minutes. I'll let everyone into the meeting, and we'll kick things off. No, I mean, if you go on for half an hour, I'll have load shedding, so that'll cap you. But I mean, like, feel free to, like, if you got, say what you got to say. Like, there's no limit. That's perfect. That's perfect. No, that's great. That way the 6th years will definitely hear the truth. They'll hear exactly what's going on, which is what we want. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna, yeah, if you don't mind, and then if you can all mute yourselves, and then I will bring you all in. Well, I'll do your title and then you unmute and go for it. Okay, cool. See you all in a bit. Hello, everyone. We've still got a few people to join, and we've got everyone who's watching the live stream also still to set up quick. So if you don't mind, we're gonna try start at exactly past, but you know how these things go. I hope everyone's well and enjoy the lovely photos of the doctors speaking tonight. And yeah, we'll see you all in like 2-3 minutes whilst I keep adding everyone to the call. Hello, everyone. Online SHAWCO internship talk. There's a lot going on at the moment because we are streaming this to YouTube and doing this over Zoom. Excuse the microphone. So apologies if I'm looking all over the show, but we're really excited tonight. We've got 3 great doctors, one in first year internship, one in second year internship, and now one in ComServe, who are going to tell you all about what to expect after 6th year. And for those of you in the chat, in the Zoom call, not in 6th year, what to expect in the future. So I'm really excited. I think there's not really much to say, but other just to get into it, because I'm going to have load shedding at some point, so everything's just going to crash. So hopefully they don't speak for too long, but luckily I don't think they will. So I hope this is now live on YouTube. If someone's in the YouTube chat, please send me a message and let me know, because I have absolutely no idea how this thing works. This thing is fancy. Anyway. So, oh no, something beeped. Okay, cool. So, let's start. Let's hear from our first doctor. So to introduce her, Dr. Bonisile Bobo Mtombeni is originally from Welkom in the Free State. She graduated UCT Medical School in 2019 and is currently a first-year intern and the intern representative at Helen Joseph / Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital Complex in Johannesburg. She says that she is passionate about serving and helping people and exploring the fullness of life. So if we could silently welcome Bobo to unmute herself and show her video, and let's hear what she has to say. Hey, Robin.
General internship experience so far.
I'll fix that.
So I've only been an intern for a few months. They've restructured the program, so now we do peds, obs and gynae, surgery and medicine in the first year, and then second year we do anesthetics, orthopedics, psychiatry, and then we do 6 months of family medicine. So you guys will experience the same rotation. So seeing that it's only July, I have only completed pediatrics and obs and gynae, which we do at Rahima Musa. So Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital is about 3 kilometers from Helen Joseph, which is just down the road. And I'm currently in my second week of Gen Surg at Helen Joseph. So why I decided to go with Helen to begin with. So I was looking for a good balance between like having supervision and academia, but not the over-specialized Joburg Jen or the notorious Chris Hani Baragwanath, but Tisha will tell us more about that. And just because of numbers, because Barra has these crazy patient numbers, but we also face our obstacles in terms of patient load and just getting things done. But I don't want to scare you guys all off just yet. So I started internship at Rahima Musa doing peds and obs and gynae. So I had obviously applied to Helen Joseph, and I think I didn't actually realize I'd be working at Rahima Musa, but it should be clear that it's actually a package deal. And I'm going to be honest and say that the Karting health sector in general is bursting at the seams. It is poorly managed, and at Rahima in particular, it's a hospital that it doesn't realize that it's actually functioning way above its capacity, or it's trying to. So there's poor hospital leadership and management, and it's a frustrating space to work in because coming from Beyonce, the Western Cape, There are certain expectations as to how a hospital is supposed to run. And being in the Joburg sector, these hospitals don't run in that manner. So lesson number one, you sort of have to be willing to let go of your GSH mentality and having an array of opsites and gelcos and N95s at your disposal. It's a completely different kind of cowboy medicine. But starting off with peds, the pediatrics department at Rahima Musa is unmatched, absolutely incredible. Passionate doctors, scheduled tutorials, constant supervision. And even though the interns are called to emergencies and theatre and labour ward, for example, you get to a point where you feel really confident and competent to actually handle these cases on your own. However, in the event that you are unsure, the reg or the MO is just a phone call away, and they will literally be there in 3 minutes. So that was an incredible introduction to internship, and yeah, best 3 months ever. And then obviously COVID, and now things are a bit of a mess. So you will never be left to drown. And they prioritize your mental health. They check in, and there's sort of an open door policy to shout for help if you're struggling. But towards the end of the rotation, you feel really competent, and you have such a great job satisfaction that it actually just makes you want to do peds forever. And then moving on to obs and gynae, which has a reputation of being the worst rotation of internship. Yeah, I agree. But I haven't experienced everything. But I think with COVID, everything is pretty hectic at the moment. It's not easy. There are days where you are feeling so overwhelmed, and emergencies are constantly walking in. I think at some point we had a backlog of 30 elective cesarean sections and 16 emergencies on the list, and you don't actually see an end in sight. And the admissions labor ward is just, it's terrible. And we're expected to essentially practice the best evidence-based medicine under inhumane conditions. And yet it happens, and then I don't know if it's some sort of Stockholm syndrome, but then you start to enjoy it. So I don't want to glorify suffering or put a badge on it and say, yo, this is really difficult, come and join us. But even in the absolute pits, I actually enjoyed it. And saying that, I mean, I'm sure I can work in any obstetric unit in the country and will know mostly what to do, just because, I mean, the training is phenomenal, but you sort of have no choice but to sort of get the hang of it so you don't drown. But the people are supportive, and they give you an opportunity to cut Caesars, which is so exciting. But like most things in medicine, it's very unit dependent. So some units, super chill days, you leave at 2 or 3, whereas in my unit, I was leaving around 6. So, and having arrived at 7 a.m. or even 6:30. You won't sleep on obs calls. You won't sleep. You'll easily do a 30-hour call. Gynae was really different. Gynae was more of a passive learning experience, but you're still managing patients. You're doing your MVAs, of course, CA cervix in abundance, and then logbook procedures. This is like probably the best thing. It's never an issue because you will get to see and you will get to do it all. So a few people were asking about general working hours. It depends on the unit, depends on the rotation. In general peds, you're leaving around 12:01. I mean, it doesn't really make much of a difference now because you can't have a life outside of the hospital. But yeah, in other rotations, it's mostly an 8 to 3, 8 to 4 kind of job. Now for Helen Joseph, where I actually applied. I have only been there for a week, but I'll just give a quick overview. So it's a tertiary hospital, but it functions as a secondary hospital in some respects. Good balance because, as I mentioned, it incorporates this academia and specialist input in patient care while still allowing the services to mostly be run by the registrars and many conditions that interns feel very comfortable managing. It's fantastic having registrars around because they actually teach, and we do have VIT students. I mean, this is a VIT circuit, so teaching is prioritized. And I mean, pre-COVID era, we had lovely teaching ward rounds, which aren't actually happening at the moment due to numbers. But in an ideal world, you get fantastic teaching. Yo, guys, Helen Joseph is busy. It's a very, very busy hospital. It's spilling over. It serves a large catchment area with high patient loads, and this creates an excessive intern workload. It's Yeah, but this is also a good opportunity for me to stop and say that interns work hard. Wherever you go, it's a job, it's new. We do a lot of the scut work. It's not always fun, but it's a learning experience. And yeah, just know that you won't necessarily come to Hill and Joseph just to chill. It's not just chilling. But yeah, it has a lot to do with the province in which you're working. Gauteng's health system does not run smoothly, leading to inefficiencies and just logistical frustrations for interns. Trying to book a CT scan is a mission. Finding anything takes hours and hours, which just, it makes you feel very disheartened, and you're still trying to provide this incredible patient care with I guess limited resources. This is not an everyday thing, but it's a I don't know, every second day thing, which is also a little bit disheartening. We do, however, get paid on time, so that was an issue in the past, and it's no longer an issue, which is great. But clinically, you will get hands-on experience. Sometimes it's just because the seniors don't want to do it, so they give you the opportunity to, and take the opportunity with both hands and hone in on your clinical skills. As I mentioned, calls are tough. You'll really get to sleep. It's not completely unheard of. I think I slept 4 or 5 hours once on a call. It was peds, but yeah, that's what happened. Surgery is very strange at the moment, so I can't really comment on that. We have cancelled a lot of electives. We're doing a lot of ED shifts. So yeah, it's different, and I think your internship will be completely different to mine, and Tasha and Dan will fill you guys in on their experiences. In summary, the Hill and Joseph Rahima Musa complex exposure is great. You get to see a wide variety of pathologies, and you feel as though you are competent and you can manage these cases. The system itself is frustrating. I think working a week in the system will make you want to go into public health just to try and make things run a little smoother. The system will always be frustrating, or for the time being. But my views are also swayed by working in this pandemic era. The colleagues actually really do make the job, and I've been lucky to work with some of the most incredible people, and I go to work and I have fun, mostly because of the people. You'll have excellent or awful seniors wherever you go. You are there to learn. So I think you need to prioritize your learning experience, be that going home and reading again. You might not want to do that when you're so overstudying, but internship it's a perfect opportunity to discover and shape the kind of doctor you want to be, which I think is just really exciting. But this can happen in any hospital, because at the end of the day, it's about the individual's approach and attitude. But it is a job, and how I like to think about it is you can leave work at work. Depending on your personality, you might take a lot of it home with you, which is what I've been learning and unlearning with each day. But yeah, lifestyle, quick lifestyle points. I love Joburg. I've only been able to really experience about a good 3 months of it, but it has the perfect mix of trendy, cultural, buzzing city, but also beautiful and green, and many wonderful outdoorsy pockets. Helen's in Auckland Park, or Coronationville. It's Rahima, which is a good 10 to 15 minutes away from lovely suburbs like Houghton and Northcliffe and Oaklands. Unfortunately, no wine farms, but it's still a great environment. And I think another main thing is that Joburg doesn't have the stark racial disparity that makes Cape Town quite an uncomfortable space. So you're exposed to a diverse group of people, and Black female consultants, registrars, heads of departments. So in that regard, it's fantastic, and it's an inspiring space to actually find oneself in. I can't actually speak on more lifestyle related factors. Haven't had much of a life. For now, it's mostly work, home, and hanging out at work with colleagues, hanging out. But yeah, DQ is also an option. They are renovating some of the apartments, but yeah, just contact me personally if you would like pictures and anything. And yeah, ask me any other questions. I think I'm gonna stop there. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's such a pleasure to hear. I'm just gonna start off and say, apologies to the YouTube people because they didn't hear like the first minute or like 30
Shame.
seconds, but it's recorded, guys, so
Okay, shame.
it's there. I'm so sorry about that, but
All good.
let me open up for questions. So
Yes.
if anyone would like to ask a question, please just raise your hand in the Zoom chat. I'll try call you out, and then yeah, ask away. And then I am reading the YouTube chat, everyone, so please ask questions there. But I must say, there's been like 5-6 comments in the YouTube chat saying you were so thorough, and thank you so much. So
No, sweet. You're welcome, guys. You're so welcome.
so does anyone have any questions?
Far away.
We have one in the chat.
Cool. How far is the DQ from the hospital? I'd say about 500 meters. It's literally the building right next to the hospital. So you can walk to, but I mean, this is with regards to Helen Joseph. So you can walk straight across to Helen, but in terms of actually getting to Rahima, it's a little bit of a distance. I would not recommend walking. It isn't safe. Oh yeah, safety. It's not safe. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So in terms of DQ to Rahima Musa, it would be about 3 kilometers. Yeah, about 2.53.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We have a question from the YouTube chat. They said, "How has internship been during the pandemic?"
It's been very different because initially, obviously, they prioritize teaching and they prioritize trying to make sure you get your logbook signed off and you get all the exposure that you have to get. But that has sort of shifted away from interns are a priority as opposed to general population as a priority, which is completely expected and it's not something that I want to retract from. But it has been very different because the year sort of started as, oh my word, internship is amazing, and now it's very much you have to be a doctor. And yeah, we're dealing with things on a greater scale. So yeah, internship, it's different now. Obviously, we aren't having group tats or I mean, they are posting journal articles on our WhatsApp groups, but yeah, it's not the same. And I think a lot of people are on edge and are feeling very overwhelmed. So it makes for a bit of a hostile environment. So we'll just ride the wave and get over the surge and yeah, reevaluate thereafter.
Okay. Okay, the question. Sorry, someone asked what is a DQ, but that's been answered in the chat.
Yes.
Doctor's quarters.
And another question.
Sana here.
Yeah, social compact. No, if that is an option, it is an option. I think for any internship spot, you can social compact. I don't know of anyone who did for Helen. But I was chatting to someone earlier today. A lot of the people in my year who applied to Helen actually got it, which is fantastic. But I think people also just trying to run away from Barra. But I'm not entirely sure in terms of the spots that are available for next year. But in my experience, people who applied to Helen ended up getting it. So yeah, okay. If that's an incentive.
We got another question here. It says, what is social compact?
So social compact is essentially when you apply with another medical student to make sure that you guys are working at the same hospital. So you apply in a group of 2 and you guys choose hospitals based on that, ensuring that you both go to the same place.
Cool.
Brad, generally work within normal working hours and 4 hours, or do you often find yourself working overtime? Yeah, overtime. Overtime is a thing. As I said, it's very block or rotation dependent, but it's also up to you. I think sometimes you just aren't able to get everything done within normal working hours. And if you want to go that extra mile, you always end up lingering or staying. So it's up to you to also just prioritize your own life and your own mental health and say, okay, I'm going to walk away now. But for example, this morning I got to work at 6 and I left around 3, whereas I could have left at 2, but you linger and you stay to try and make things easier for yourself the next day. But yeah, another one. If you had the opportunity to choose again, would you choose Helen Joseph? Yeah, I think I would definitely go back to Rahima Musa, which doesn't actually answer that question because I didn't apply to work at Rahima. Um, Helen is very difficult. I think I also speak from a space now of being quite tired and overwhelmed. So I don't want to do myself a disservice and say I wouldn't choose Helen again. I love Joburg. I was considering Barra because the interns at Barra right now seem to be having a far better time than we are. Um, but to answer your question, yeah, I choose Helen, even in the pits.
We have a question from the YouTube chat here. Sarah asks, "Did you feel ready for internship at the end of 6th year?"
Um, no, not necessarily. Um, yeah, I think I was just you're on such a high because you're done with studying and you feel so excited. So I walked into internship with the mentality of, oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to be here. I can't wait to do this. In terms of clinical skills and knowledge, we really do have to shout out to UCT because you can tell a UCT intern and just a lot of the skills we just pick up very quickly because we have had excellent training. Um, and you don't realize how much you actually know. I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. But when you are working in a clinical environment and you're learning how to be a professional, you pick things up a lot quicker. So didn't necessarily feel as though I was ready towards the end of final year. But as you step into internship, you get into the swing of things. And yeah, I think UCT tries its best to prepare us, but the working world is another beast.
Mm.
So yeah, it's just different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two more questions, and then I think we're going to head on to the next speaker. If anyone else has any more questions, please hold on to them, and we'll answer them later. So they're from Mishka, and she asks, "How do you deal with the professional hierarchy in a hospital team? I.e., is there any conflict within colleagues with colleagues?"
Yeah. I haven't experienced it. I haven't experienced too much of it, but the hierarchy exists. We know this from first year. There is a hierarchy. I think it's about the individual realizing that this is the scope of my work. And as an intern, you have to learn how to be a little bit more outspoken as opposed to timid quite early on, because you will find yourself being taken advantage of and having people expect you to do everything. And also, you need to be in an environment where you can say, listen, I don't feel comfortable doing this. It's not in my scope of work or practice, and I don't want to do this. So the hierarchy is a thing, but I think we have such amazing and respectful and supportive seniors that they want to stretch you and push you a bit, but they also understand that no, let's not let the intern, I don't know, do everything on call all night. So that hasn't been too much of an issue, but yeah, if I think of anything else,
Okay.
I'll shout.
Cool. And then the last question on a very important note: how many days leave do you get per year?
So we have a total of 22 days. How it's split at my hospital is that you get 5 days off. So it's one full week, so 5 working days, and they give you a weekend on either side of that. So it ends up being about 9 days. Peds is great because you get 7 working days off, but all the other rotations you get 5. And depending on the rotation you're in, you can either choose amongst your unit and say, hey guys, I'll be taking leave in the next 3 weeks, and just make sure that no two interns are on leave at the same time. But otherwise, it's quite flexible, and yeah, you get to choose your leave. Whereas in peds, we had allocated leave, which was, I mean, a bit lame. But leave is leave, and take your leave, and yeah, go away and forget about work for a bit.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's been such a
Welcome.
pleasure hearing from you. And yeah,
Thanks
the,
so
the
much for
YouTube
having me.
chat says, yeah, big claps. I just appreciate everyone in the Zoom chat here to put the clap reaction. Be much appreciated. Or you can
Sweet.
unmute yourself and actually clap if you want. Up to you. Um,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah, it's definitely a thing. So
Thanks, guys.
thank you so much. If anyone has any more questions, we will. They are popping up. I like that. If anyone has any more questions, we'll answer them. We'll get be able to answer them after the next speakers. Okay,
But
cool.
come to Joburg, it's so much fun.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you. Cool.
Okay,
So
bye.
our next speaker is also from Joburg. Well, not from Joburg, but working in Joburg. Dr. Tushar Naidu graduated from UCT Medical School in 2018. He's currently a second-year intern at Chris Hani Baragwanath Academic Hospital. In his spare time, he enjoys playing and watching soccer. He didn't mention what soccer team he supports, but I'm not hopeful. And he says one day he hopes to specialize in surgery. So if we can all welcome Dr. Tushar to come and speak to us here. I will now pin his video, hopefully.
Hello, how's it? And is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. How's it, guys? Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Bobo. That was really nice. Thanks for that lovely introduction as well. My name is Tushar, and I'm currently a second-year intern at Barra, and I was at UCT a year and a bit ago. So I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. It's very difficult because Barra sort of has or boasts this reputation about itself. So I'm just trying to arrange things. So I'll try and keep it very brief with a brief introduction, and then we'll go. So I've been asked questions in my personal capacity about Barra, and the three major things that came up were practical exposure, teamwork, and stress. So we'll speak about those three things just on a very brief level. And so as I said, I'm a second-year intern, and how Barra works very much like Helen, like Bobo told you, we in first year, we do the major, everyone kind of does the same rotations. So you do medicine, I did medicine, surgery, and obstetrics and gynecology. At that time, we did 4 months per rotation. It's kind of been shortened for you guys to 3 months with the addition of peds. So I've done those three so far, and I've done anesthetics, orthopedics. I'm currently in family medicine, and then I've just got a month of psychiatry, and I've got pediatrics to go. So I'll speak with regards to my experience in those, and we'll kind of work from there. The interns we started this year had double the numbers come in at Barra. I'm not quite sure how it worked in the different hospitals. But I think as far as I know, you guys who are applying for next year have about 90. And I think we also had about 90 spots. And we currently have in our year about 76 interns. So I guess the stress and my sort of experience will be similar, even if you drop that kind of month, to what you guys will experience if you do go to Barra. Cool. So Barra is a tertiary level institute. It's just off Chris Hani Road, just off the highway in Soweto. It's relatively safe to go and drive to every morning because it's just off the highway. And a lot of people question that initially. It's part of the city of Johannesburg metropolitan area. It's got a very wide drainage area, draining as far as like 31 kilometers away in Krugersdorp. So it's very, very wide, covers a very wide population. Soweto has a population of about 1.3 million people. And obviously, Barra, despite it being a tertiary level institute due to the inadequacies in the healthcare system, it becomes a primary, secondary, quaternary level institute, even though Joburg Gen's the quaternary level institute. We'll start with, so at the start I said, we'll speak about practical exposure, teamwork, and stress. Just the three major things. And we'll start with the practical exposure. So everyone speaks about Barra as being this thing where you get to do all the things all the time. And that is true in certain aspects, but I don't think that you are devoid of that experience anyone else, at least. I haven't really done an internship anywhere else. But if you're coming to Barra to be able to become an expert in all of the things, you will get proficiency. You'll get to cut Caesars anywhere, really. The thing about Barra is that it's a lot, so you'll have to learn to adapt really quickly. So because the patient numbers are so high, it is exceptionally busy and it's exceptionally difficult to acclimatize to initially. My first rotation was internal medicine, and by and large, you are alone in internal medicine. The hours are long, the system is broken. The booking CTs, I just use this as an example. So booking CTs, you'll if it's an ASAP, so you get ASAP and urgent CTs. So if it's an ASAP CT, you book it. There's a list that goes up in the morning, and you have to come and wait in a queue to book your scan, and you're allowed 2 scans to book. So things like sometimes work up for a stroke and stuff all fall onto the ASAP list, and you'll have to, or even sometimes even PE for like a CTPA, you'll have to wait in the ASAP list in the morning. So you have to get up at maybe 5, 6 in the morning, wait in the queue for 2 to 3 hours. When the radiologist comes, they'll write in the list on the CT. Hopefully you get it. Sometimes they come at 7:30 to 8. And by that time, you've already wasted 3 hours waiting in a queue to book scans for 2 patients. And the numbers are insane. Like I cannot stress that enough. It's something that I don't think I've ever experienced. And from what I hear, not many other hospitals experience. So if you're coming there for stress, you're definitely going to get some stress. Another question I get asked a lot is about trauma. If you are coming to Barra for trauma, you'll get the best experience. Trauma is second to none. It is stressful. It is hard. I did trauma at the end of last year, and on the public holidays, it was horrid. There were resuscitators on the floor. We were putting chest drains on patients in wheelchairs. It is insane. It's almost unfathomable. But that's the reason why Barra has got the sort of reputation that it does, is because you have to be able to acclimatize that really quickly, put in chest drains really quickly, adapt to resus environments really quickly. So in terms of practical exposure, you'll experience everything from such a wide variety of things in such a short space of time that you'll have to learn to adapt to the climate and the environment and the inadequacies of the healthcare system really, really quickly. So trauma, definitely one of the things. Internal med, also very, very difficult because patient loads, I don't really know about those sort of rotations in the time of Corona, but definitely it is a bit, it's very difficult because you are alone. You have the responsibility to see those patients, and you'll get intakes of like 23 patients on an intake, and you'll be sitting on 40, and you can't do anything over a long weekend. So you've got 60 patients to see on a ward round. Your ward round starts at 8. Phlebs have left by 10, so you've got all the stuff to do, all these bloods to take at the end of the day, and it's very, very overwhelming, but you learn to acclimatize really quickly. And as Bobo said, I think you almost aren't aware of how much you do know at the time, so you are quite capable, at least coming from UCT, at least I found myself to be capable to keep up with things a lot academically, but I think the stress sometimes can get to you. So we spoke about the admin. As Western Cape versus Karting, there's a very stark difference. There's very little resources, both in terms of human and actual resources like drips and all those fancy things. Your first year of internship, at least at Barra, is the heavy year. In second year, it's far, far more relaxed when you do anesthetics, orthos, family medicine, and well, I'm doing pediatrics, and then you guys will do psychiatry, but peds kind of falls into your first year as well. So first year will be the hard year, and you'll have to learn to acclimatize, but you'll get it out of the way. And I think it'll make you a better person for that. I think, and that brings me on to the second point that a lot of people bring forward is teamwork. I think quite a strong pro about Barra is that even though at times you may feel alone, you are never really alone. You're alone to do the work, especially in internal medicine and that rotation. But I think if you need help, academic advice, there's always someone who's listening. There's sort of a support structure in Barra where everyone kind of knows that shared personal trauma that you're going through. And I think that level of understanding is kind of universal, especially with the people who did internship at Barra. You'll see that there's always support if you ever ask for it, which is really, really nice. That being said, because you're exposed and there's such a good support structure with doctors, regs, consultants, and you become friends with them, they seemingly become your life. It's very easy to sort of pick up the bad habits that they have. And you'll see like there are certain things you'll see and you'll be like, should I say something? I wasn't really taught that. But some people kind of cut certain shortcuts to get by with the stress and stuff like that. I think just stay true to who you want to be as a doctor and what you've learned, even in the stressful environment, shouldn't actually lead you straight to that. I do think that you should focus on doing things correctly, but you will see these shortcuts and try not to pick up bad habits, but you will definitely be experiencing that. And I assume that's at any hospital, really. Thirdly, moving on to the stress. It is very stressful. It's probably the most stressful thing you'll do. You'll feel, well, I felt overwhelmed like a lot of the time. I started in internal med. It was my first rotation at 7 o'clock, and we actually started on the 31st of December. So moved up, we had an orientation, a little bit of an orientation, a patient handover before even the year started. and we the first day we were right in, and I didn't know where anything was. Barra's huge. It's got these corridors between all these wards, and you have to go and see patients and walk around and find things. And the Vitsies initially might have had their own cliques, but you kind of intermingle between it. And it's a very, very stressful environment, but it teaches you adaptability. Not so much, I think we're very, very lucky in the sense that we're taught quite a bit of knowledge in our university career. So we do have that heavy backing. So you can rely on that. But in terms of adaptability, I'm talking about learning where things are, moving between wards, learning to do things quickly and efficiently, but most importantly, correctly. At least that's what I found. So stress, but it will teach you adaptability. And that's a great thing about Barra is that if, as I said at the start, if you want to come to Barra to learn to put 50 chest drains in the shortest amount of time, don't come to Barra, because you'll put chest drains anywhere really in internship. It's actually a logbook requirement. So don't come here to try and be the quickest at it, because you'll go into ComServe, you'll maybe get an MO post, you won't do something for 2 years, and like anything, you'll remember the skill, but you won't be remembered to do it as quickly as you did. I think if you're coming to Barra, the thing that it taught me, at least in my own personal experience, is the ability to adapt really quickly to a stressful environment and to be calm in that environment, at least in a medical setting. I think that is probably the most invaluable thing that Barra has taught me. That and that support structure. That being said, Barra does become your life. Last year, we did not have lockdown restrictions, and yet Barra I still felt lockdown. I felt like I was there all the time, felt like I was working all the time. Internal med was the hardest. Some days I'd get to work at 5 and leave at like 5, 6 at night, depending on how many patients I had. Every day, I think in January, I worked every day in Jan, without fail. Overtime is definitely underpaid for Barra. Doctors, not only interns, I think doctors in general. Surgery is amazing. You will work a lot of hours. Internal med is just a little bit more strenuous because you have to deal with the inadequacies of the system far, far more than actually than surgery, because a lot of surgery is practical, excuse me. But yeah, and then obs and gynae obviously has its own reputation, but it is very much a team structured approach. The regs and consultants are very nice. As I said, it's a very nice environment to develop these bonds professionally and socially. It does become your life though. So if you're looking for a drawl or to enjoy your intern salary, because it's nice to earn, generally is. But if you're looking for a drawl or to enjoy that, don't come to Barra, because for a few months it will definitely become your be all and end all. Like maybe when I was in UCT, maybe varsity was a different experience, but I definitely had more chances to intermingle outside of campus or whatever. Not so much at Barra. My good friends, like pretty much all my friends were them, because that's all you're exposed to really. In terms of places where you can stay, I stay in Johannesburg South, which is very close to Barra. As I said, Barra is just off the highway, so it's safe. But when you do family medicine, the clinics are more centralized in the heart of Soweto. So if you do calls in Soweto, coming out late at night can be seen as like a deterrent or a negative. So just take that into consideration, that it can get a bit dangerous at night, especially when you're driving far distances where there's no electricity at very late at night with the clinics. That being said, we spoke about practical exposure, we spoke about teamwork, and we spoke about the stress of Barra, and that in general becomes your life. I think conclusively, as a Barra intern, or at least my experience of it, most days, if not all days, you'll always feel like you have a lot on your plate. But if you do decide to become a Barra intern, you need to be able to ensure that you have a big appetite, that you can eat things that you don't necessarily normally stomach, and that you aren't afraid to eat alone. I think at the end of the day, if you approach it with that sort of mindset, and then you'll be full. You'll be full, and you'll definitely come out of it with a good experience. At least I know I have. I don't regret it. Might be Stockholm, but I definitely don't regret it. All right, thanks. I don't know if there's anything else, if I can take any questions, or thank you for indulging me. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Joshua. Really appreciate it. It's been great. If again, like I said, if anyone has any questions, now's the time to ask them. I have one that Katie asked in the YouTube chat. She said, I've heard there is quite a close camaraderie among the Wits graduate interns. Did you feel at all like an outsider coming from UCT?
No, no, I didn't. Maybe I just had, maybe it was unique to my year and stuff. I did feel initially it was very hard because I didn't know anyone. I was intern rep as well on my first day, and they were like, they just all pointed to me, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, now what do I do? I don't know where anything is. But you learn to adapt quickly, and then I think the stressful environment of Barra brings people together. It's like shared trauma. I don't know if that's a thing. I'm sure there's psychological evidence behind that. But definitely, initially you might feel that way, but it's not. It doesn't last long. You'll see when I think my first call must have been like on my third day at work. I was very, very overwhelmed, but people came to the play. Like my birthday was in that week, and the Vitsi bought me some chocolates and stuff like that because we were spending it at work, as one does.
Cool. Thank you. I've got another question here. With everything being so hectic, did you actually get to learn medicine?
Oh, sorry, I was actually meant to speak about that. So with internal medicine, you get 5 units. I was part of Menezes' unit. It was very academic orientated, which was great, I think, in theory. Excuse pun, but practically with Barra and the patient load of Barra, we would have intern meetings between 8 and 9. And as I said before, you'd have that time period in the morning to book your scans, and you still have to round with your edge and do all of that. So it wasn't very academic based. You're not going to get a chance to publish articles if that's what you want. You're not going to get a chance. I mean, maybe you can in second year, but at least I didn't think there was time in first year, at least to have that chance to publish articles or get heavily involved in academia. That being said, in Menezes' unit, we did have time for academic meetings, I think once a week on a Wednesday, where someone would discuss a topic, or we had AMS ward rounds and stewardship ward rounds and stuff like that. So definitely there's opportunities, but 9 times out of 10, you will feel so overwhelmed with everything you have to do for the day that you're either not paying attention, or you'll go home and you'll be like, okay, well, I'll read this. You end up reading for your patients more than for academic discussion.
Okay, cool. That's very thorough. Thank you. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and ask away. Sure. Thank you so much for speaking. It's been, I feel like Barra has this like aura around it, especially for medical students. It has this, people have no idea what to expect, but everyone has an idea, like everyone thinks they know what's going on. So thank you for demystifying it.
No, 100%. Yeah, I welcome question. Sorry that went on a little bit longer.
No, you definitely didn't. I've got a question here in YouTube chat. How is the safety within the hospital itself?
So I've heard stories. I've heard stories from my friends who have gone it. So as there's a doctor's entrance and a main entrance. Last year, I think when I was in obstetrics and gynecology around mid-year, around the doctor's entrance, they were kind of targeting doctors. So definitely at that time, it wasn't safe. Within the hospital, there have been a few petty thefts like stealing of bags and stealing of phones. I'm not quite sure if that's a thing, but around the hospitals, but they were few and far between. I must have heard of 1 or 2 incidents. Given that it's the biggest hospital in the Southern Hemisphere, with just patient numbers in general, I assume that like just with numbers of people, there's obviously a higher risk of that. The Vitties did say about incidents of like attempted rape and things like that, and violent crimes that were probably prior to my time. They did speak about that, but not as far as since I've been here. I obviously don't have stats offhand. I'm just going from hearsay. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's definitely a concern that people have. We've got 2 chats here. The one says, do you think the experience has been very different for first-year interns with the increased numbers? I assume that means at Barris, like...
I know, no disrespect to them. Barra is hard in general, but by just numerically, by having more people around and more hands, you do less calls. So this year's interns, the first year interns, will be doing peds with us. It won't be the same for you guys applying next year. So there'll be way too many hands in peds, or at least I've heard. There's a lot of people. The calls are, so the numbers it's actually nice. So that's probably how the hospital should be run, with that amount of doctors, to keep some level of sanity. But definitely, it's a very different experience.
Okay.
That stress of like having 60 to 70 patients on your internal med, at least I don't think they did. You'd probably have to chat to a first year intern to see if they had those numbers. But from my experience, it was definitely very stressful with regards to numbers.
Okay. Cool. There's another question in the Zoom chat here. Is your leave situation similar to what Bobo described?
Yes. So I'm not quite sure with the first year, because I know they have 3-month leave, so it's 10 days. Well, it's like 5 working days and the weekend before, weekend after, or something like that. When we did the 3 rotations in first year, it was 10 working days, or 10 consecutive days, or something like that. And currently now for the shorter rotations, it's 5 working days with the weekend before, weekend after. The thing, obviously, it's a bit more iffy with Corona now. So I did have Corona, confidentiality blown, but I had Corona and then I had to isolate for 2 weeks. So there's the entire discussion about leave and the process thereafter and how things are working. So I'll have to give you up-to-date information about that as it comes. But definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Very similar. I'm sure it's the same across the board. Everyone, like, you're under contract of the national department, so I assume your leave days are the same.
Okay. Cool. There was a question above that I missed. Sorry, Kensani. It says, "Is there anything you wish you learned in medical school that would have prepared you better for internship?"
The 5 causes. No, I'm joking. I don't. No, just I think UCT makes you like learn a lot in a very quick space of time. And to be honest, I've forgotten some of it, but the refreshers are the things that you're mainly exposed to, which is great. I think probably the greatest thing that you can learn is probably the ability to adapt to a situation. I think Barra does give you that, but so does UCT, because like that copious amount of work and all the things that we go through in varsity is also quite. I think the ability to adapt is probably the coolest thing that you can learn.
Okay. And then we've got a question here from Zete. She asks, how does patient registration and follow-up work in Gauteng? Is it the same as Western Cape with folder numbers and stickers, or ID based?
What's a sticker? Like it's so you get like a GP number, and it's registered on a database as far as I know, and then follow-up's very, very bad. At Barra, I probably should have said that. Some echoes get dates a year, 2 years later if you're booking an outpatient echo. I'm not even joking, it's a year, 2 years later. Sure. I think last year I saw a patient in Feb who I got a date for in 2021, so I'm not even going to be there. And that wasn't just me though. But so definitely, because I think the system is so flawed in terms of the referral system that so when I was there last year, I'd always be like, oh, they're sending such trash from the clinics. Why are they doing that? They're sending a stabbed chest with a pediatric dropper and like a pink Jalco or whatever. But when you work at the clinics, you realize that's all you have. You have a tape for no op sites. You have like maybe a Jalco and a pediatric dropper. That's pretty much it you can sort of do. So the system is so broken that I'm not quite sure if I'm actually diverging from the question, but the folder numbers and the referral systems are definitely not as up to scratch as the Western Cape, at least. This is just a GP number that you write. The clinics have different folder numbers, and it kind of it works around something like that.
Okay.
But it's very different.
Okay. I've got a message here from YouTube chat. Katie asks, with Barra basically becoming the focus of your life, did you find that your relationships outside of the hospital suffered?
I don't know if it's TMI, but I ended up sort of dating someone from Barra, because it became my life. But I don't think so much. My sister also stayed in Joburg, and my auntie and stuff, and I still had time to see them because I'd make time. But when I say Barra becomes your life, I mean like your social group is Barra. The people that are there are like your family, sort of. You won't have time to chat to. So my parents, I'm from Belito in KZN. So my parents, like every time I'd phone them once a week if I was lucky, because things are so busy. You come home, you shower, you sleep. Then you go to work and do it again. And it's just like that day after day after day after day. and at least it was like that in internal med. It did suffer, but I think that's also part of growing up, though. You can't be best friends with everyone that you were previously. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. We'll wait for them to let you know. There's a little delay on the YouTube chat. But thank you so much. It's been great to hear from you and great to hear about Barra. Like I said, I think it's got this massive aura around it. It's so nice to have that demystified and hear that people actually work there, you know? like how it works. Okay, cool. They're happy that that question was answered. Sorry, someone else is saying ask for a clarification. I'm not sure what for. But okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much, Shah. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know if you have anything else, any final thoughts, or any last words.
Just last word. If you apply to Barra, you're gonna get Barra. That's pretty much it. Yeah, because if you apply to Barra, you're gonna get Barra. Just know it. If you want a job, yeah, okay, cool.
Okay.
Good luck. I hope that helped.
Cool. Thank you so much. So our last doctor for the evening is Dr. Daniel Gildenes. He is currently doing ComServe. He's 28 years old and graduated UCT Medical School in 2017. He spent 2 years in the magnificent Mtumzini in rural KZN, where he completed his internship at Ngwelezana Hospital. He is now completing ComServe in rural Limpopo at Maputo Malachi Hospital, which is near Palabora. On a personal note, Dan was actually the first clinical student that I ever met at a SHAWCO clinic, and I doubt he remembers, but he gladly took 2 very new and excited first years into the cubicle and showed us the ropes. So, and I think he set a pretty good example then, and I'm really excited to hear what's happened in the following 3 years since then. So, if we could welcome Dan to speak to us. I need to pin his video now. And yeah, Dan, when you're ready, go for it.
Thanks, Josh. Good evening, guys. It's really nice to be offered this opportunity just to chat. It was also really exciting hearing from Bobo and Shah. I think, like they said, it's sometimes quite difficult. You don't always get a good experience of what other people are going through. So sometimes it's quite a weird thing. You kind of going with like your blinkers on and you kind of forget that other interns exist. So I'll just share like just a few of my experiences. Obviously, I'm a little bit further down the line. I'll just say as well, I'm not a COVID intern. I'm barely even a COVID ComServe. And yeah, my experience was also different, obviously, now because the system's changed a little bit. So I was a part of the system where each rotation was 4 months long, and you had 3 blocks a year, and so things are slightly different, but I think the principles are the same. I'll share my experience of internship. I did my internship at a hospital in KZN. We call it Northern KZN, in a township or town called Impangeni, and the hospital's called Ngwelezana. Similar to like what Bobo was saying, it's a complex. We are Ngwelezana and Quinandi Regional Hospital. Quinandi is our mother and child hospital, and Ngwelezana is where you do everything else. So just some geographical information. Impangeni, it's about an hour north of Belito on the N2 for people coming from UCT. I literally got on the N2 and I didn't leave it for 21 hours until I got to my new town when I traveled up. So it's the same N2. It is just near another town called Richards Bay, which is on the coast. So it's a little bit inland. It's quite hot. It's quite humid. But yeah, it's beautiful rural KZN. The rolling hills, incredible scenes, the sugarcane farms. In Ngwelezana, I'll start there. It's a tertiary hospital by definition. I think it's kind of more like a secondary hospital. I think tertiary, given the fact that we have all the specialties and a CT scanner, but sometimes I think we acted more like a secondary. You get referrals from a lot of district hospitals that are very rural. KZN has a lot of challenges. I'd say some of the difference in the previous talks was based a lot about Joburg. And yeah, I think every province has its challenges. KZN has quite a significant amount of poverty, and the rural townships, yeah, it's really tough out there, and people have to travel really far to get any form of help or assistance. So I think that's one challenge that I definitely learned a lot about. Then the hospital itself, it's actually going under a lot of renovation at the moment, which is really exciting. It got a new surgical wing, which is really beautiful, done really well. So orthopedics and surgery are based there, and they're busy renovating all the other departments. So it's quite exciting, all the growth that is happening. Internship for me at Ngwelezan, 2 years of growth, and it was a really good experience. I have no regrets. It has its challenges. It's no Barra, it's no Helen Joseph, it's no Peter Maritzburg, but like we always say as interns, we always laugh, and everyone always has their gory, hairy stories, and it's almost like who's had the toughest time, which I think is quite funny, because I think everyone has it tough and everyone's going to experience internship differently. One of the things that I found about Ngwelezan, internship was different. It was difficult for different reasons. I think being rural, being isolated, being far away for things came with different challenges. I never had registrars. I often worked with chronic MOs whose skill sets were left quite wanting. And a lot of the time I was on my own, making things or decisions on my own, which is also at the same time really cool. I think I learned a lot and grew a lot in my medical career, just purely from the fact that I had to actually think for myself a lot of the time, and had to really adapt. Exactly like Tasha was saying, I think an amazing attribute for a doctor is the ability to adapt and work with whatever system or situation you're kind of being exposed to. Internship wise, I rotated through all the different rotations. For me, a highlight was the surgical department. It's doing really great things at the moment. It's headed up by really great seniors. Consultants are really great. The seniors are really cool. We had a lot of trauma. I got a lot of exposure. I got to do a lot. I started learning how to do appendectomies because I was interested and keen. I did my BKAs and AKAs. So kind of Ngwelezan is really good experience, because if you're keen and you're willing, you can do the stuff, and people will kind of let you kind of take the reign, and they don't stand around to watch you, which is really good from a growth point of view. Sometimes I felt like academics were slightly lacking. Sometimes I felt a little bit behind when I thought of other people in other hospitals. But then at the same time, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was getting a very good experience. I don't feel behind at the moment. I don't feel like I'm lacking on certain areas. But maybe we'll only find that out later. With regards to some of the finer details, hospital accommodation, it's basically like a flat. I never actually went there. I just spoke to all the other interns who did stay in DQ. It's basically in between the two hospitals, which are about 15-minute drive from each other, so they're really close. It's very easy to get around. There are no Ubers or things like that. It's kind of important to have a form of transport, which is an important point. I know they had some issues with the quality of the rooms and the appliances and things, so I know there are some issues. There weren't a lot of UCT people at Ngwelezan when I started. It was actually just Tuli and myself, and then another guy who was kind of asynchronous, so the three of us. Made a lot of really amazing friends. I'd say it's one of my highlights is I don't think there's such a thing as a university which makes the best doctors. I think there are just some humans who are great doctors, and there are some humans who are really bad doctors. Some come from different universities, and some just kind of coast. That's amazing interns, amazing friends, people from the Free State who knew that 5 years gave you as good a degree. It really did. They were some of my best friends and some of the hardest working people I knew. So I made a lot of friends. I actually made a lot of friends with my seniors. They were really great, taught a lot and kind of mentored a lot, which was really cool. And then each rotation is so different. So I suppose it's difficult to say. Internal medicine wasn't exactly like Barra's internal medicine. Ours is a little bit more chilled. Ngwelezan works slightly differently, although I don't know how it's going to work now so much, but family medicine is kind of like just doing medicine, but we'd call it like district health medicine and then like tertiary level medicine. So internal med would take like the fancy important cases where it would be like the cardiac cases or the hematology cases and the weird renal stuff, and they'd run like the dialysis unit and things. Family medicine would basically be like the guy who had a stroke or someone who's in heart failure. And so I actually ended up running a family medicine ward on my own, having like a consultant ward around once a week and making things up as I go along. So it runs a little bit differently to other hospitals, very differently to Cape Town. Yeah, but you learn a lot, you grow a lot. Yeah, so internship wise was a very good experience. I loved my 2 years there. Maybe more finer details. We also got 22 days of leave. It was split between all our rotations. It's different now, obviously. Yeah, you got about 7 or 8 days per rotation. Mine was different to Bobo. I got, mine did not include weekends. I got my full 7 days and maxed out on weekends when I could. You'll do about 4 to 5 calls a month per rotation. I know it is different now because the intern numbers have increased, which I know, like Shah was saying, is creating quite a lot of relief in terms of hours that you do and like workload that you're getting. So that's a pro. I don't believe in burnout in the sense of I don't think anyone should ever be put in a situation where they should burn out. Burnout is sad. I've seen my friends go through it and it's horrible to watch. I think I was lucky and I managed to keep myself sane, but it's really challenging. And when you get to that point of not enjoying medicine anymore, I think it's really sad that we get pushed to that point. So the fact that we're getting more interns and the fact that like workload is being spread out a bit, I think is awesome. Yeah, I'm a big believer in quality of life, which is one of the reasons I chose Ngwelezan. I lived in a small holiday town called Umtunzini, which is on the coast. It's about 50 minutes north of Ballito. So it's kind of a drive every day to work. I love the drive. It's a beautiful 40, 35-minute drive to work. We had carpools, we ran and drove with friends, listened to music on the way. But I got to live in an eco estate on the beach in these beautiful big houses that are owned by fancy people who have lots of money and kind of just looking for an income. So it's dirt cheap rent for incredible houses. A beach 5 minutes down the road, a private estate with a river that goes through it. So I really believe I got a great experience in terms of my quality of life outside of the hospital where I could. Obviously, internship, each rotation is different, and like post calls, different hours. But if I got home by like 12, I would just run straight to the beach and just go chill there and have like a sundowner and just enjoy the evening. So for me, like quality of life outside of the hospital was quite an important thing, which is one of the reasons I got there. We also got to travel a lot. Ngwelezan's very close to a lot of really cool areas. I'm a Cape Town boy, and I'm very sad that I never explored KZN. It's beautiful, it's incredible. There's a lot of places to go near it. That's one of my biggest tips about internship and ComServe. Like if you are willing and you're able, obviously everyone has a different story and has different needs, but you're able to put yourself in an environment that's new to you and challenging, do it. It's 2 years. You're going to grow so much. You get to explore an incredible country that not many other careers get to have this kind of opportunity. I've never been to these areas in KZN. I'd never really done the Midlands. I got to go there, which was really fun. We got to travel really north to near Mozambique, have like a weekend away sometimes when we were in on call. Yeah, so I got to explore a lot, which was really great. Yeah, so internship at Ngwelezan, for me, a really good option. It has its challenges. Rural health is no joke. It's really sad sometimes. You feel defeated. KZN has a lot of challenges. I'm sure every health system in every province does. I definitely felt that in KZN. Yeah, and I think that's all I had to say about internship. I'm sure there were a lot of other questions and people wanted to know other things maybe that were more specific. Then I went to ComServe, and this would be my point about everyone thinks they have control over their lives and their situations. I definitely did not. I was quite excited to move to Joburg for my ComServe. I tried actually to get to Helen Joseph. So hearing Bobo's stories made me very jealous. It sounds really great in my perspective, but it didn't work out for me. Yeah, the system kind of didn't work for me. It worked for a lot of people, so it's not saying the system is broken. I think the system does work. I think you can't have everyone winning. But I ended up in a hospital in rural Limpopo. Originally, I got placed somewhere very strange. There wasn't really anyone going there. Last minute, got moved again. I'm in a small town called Palabora, which is just outside Kruger Park. We're actually at the gate of Kruger. So I suppose that's quite nice. I get to go there on weekends and see the lions and animals. But it's a very small town, very rural. My hospital's a district hospital. There aren't many doctors. There are 6 of us comserves, but they're awesome. And I don't think I would have survived here if I didn't have them. It wasn't where I saw myself for 2020. But one thing that COVID has taught me is if you're going to go through difficult times, it might as well be during COVID, because I think everyone's going through a tough time. So kind of equal the playing fields a little bit. It's very far away from things, and I do miss home, but I have learned a lot, and I have been pushed and have had to deal with things. The Limpopo health system has a lot of challenges. I thought KZN was difficult. I was wrong. Limpopo is, it struggles, and you kind of feel a bit defeated a lot of the time. Similar kind of situation where you're just trying to book dates and you're booking things so far in advance that you don't think your patient will be alive to see it. I've learned a lot as well about like different health systems and what rural health means. I recently did a little 3-month stint where I was working in the clinics. I thought my hospital was rural, and then I met some of the clinics that I worked in. And it's difficult. I've learned a lot, and it has been a good experience. I'm trying to think if there were other things that I wanted to say. So I think that would be everything I have to say about my internship and ComServe experience. I wrote down some tidbits that I thought I'd just like put out there. Everyone's nervous, everyone's excited. Internship's quite like a daunting thing. You're coming from med school where maybe you feel like things have been a little bit spoon-fed. So I thought there's no harm in sharing some of my experiences. My first point was just that if you are going to go work somewhere new, it might as well be during internship. It's a 2-year stint. You know it's going to come to an end. If you hate it, you hate it. If you don't, you loved it. You found a new city that you want to live in. Do it. The second one be, especially for the people in internship who are, my favorite question that people ask on that Facebook group is, can anyone give me advice about where's a good place to do anesthetics? Or where's a good place to do my psych time? I wanted a good place to do just my hospital time, and that didn't work out for me. So sometimes you can't control everything. Just if you are able to, just lean into it, kind of go with the flow. Just remember, it's only going to be a short time. You'll learn a lot. You'll make new friends. You might learn that you loved something that you didn't know you could. Next point, rural pay is amazing. I have a huge little whopping bonus working at both Ingwelezan, that got rural pay, as well as now where I am. It's about, numbers are all numbers, but it's about 7-8 grand extra just on the side, just because you're rural. So that definitely pays for things like trips home. It definitely pays for things like comfort food. So when you are feeling it, it does help. Don't forget to keep your life as rounded as you can. I know a lot of the guys speaking about how much time you spend at the hospital, and that does happen, and you do sometimes feel like you are married to the place. But just don't forget that life outside of the hospital is also important. Burnout is real. It happens, and I think if you're not doing the things that you love, if you love running, if you love watching movies, if you love seeing friends, if you love going out, you should also be doing those things where you can and where it allows. Just remember, guys, your hospital is not going to be like UCT / Gritskia / the Western Cape. Unless you get lucky enough to get placed in cool hospitals in the Western Cape, if that's what you want. Awesome. If it's not, I'm sure everyone here can testify. I love the question about stickers. I haven't seen a sticker for 3 years. I've actually forgotten what they look like. You are going to be faced with different challenges, and it's going to be a new experience wherever you go. I remember hearing about hospitals that had like different like cannulas and sizes, and I just remember being like, well, I just used what I had. If I turned and I asked for what color and they gave me a different color, I was like, well, this is the one I'm using today. everything is not as hunky-dory as the Western Cape, but I think that's good. I think you should learn, and exactly like Tisha says, adapt. Do courses. In internship, it's really great to do your courses. Start applying as soon as you do it. Things like your ACLS, your BLSs, you should always keep up to date. Your PALs, things like that, your surgical skills courses, start booking them when you do it. You can sometimes get academic leave, which is really fun. B, it's so important to keep those kind of skills, which are so vital to being a good intern. Being able to run a resus, being able to put in chest drains and suture, those things are vital. So if you are keeping those skills up to date, I think it's really great. And PEDS is very scary, so if you're doing your PALs, it's even better. Yeah, I said the thing about there's no such university that produces bad doctors. I mean, good doctors better than others, I think. We all like to think UCT is this like pinnacle of health systems and education. I think it's amazing. I loved my time there, but I also think Steadies is amazing. I also think Wits is fantastic. Pretoria, those Tux guys, they work hard and they work for you. So yeah. And logbooks. I didn't hear anyone else speak about it, so I just thought I'd put it out there. Logbooks are freaking painful, are flippin' scary, and are just a pain in the butt. So my advice is, you're going to learn what it's like, but just make photocopies where you can, because when you lose that thing, or it gets water damaged, or your dog eats it, and I have heard of those, it's a pain. Make sure you keep it up to date. Do all your procedures, because when you get your internship rejected at the end, when you're tired and you're post-call, it is the worst experience. Mine was accepted. I was very grateful, but I had a lot of friends who spent weeks at the end running around while you're trying to pack up your house, while you're trying to move. It's a nightmare. So keep your logbooks up to date. Logbooks are with you for a while, so just get used to them. And the last one I'd say is just make friends. I didn't keep up with like UCT friends in the sense of I'm able to keep in contact with all my friends in Joburg and Cape Town, but in KZN, I actually just made a whole group of new friends, all from different hospitals and universities. I made friends with Allieds. Allieds are amazing. They're incredibly smart and probably harder working than some of us. And doctors, don't be afraid of seniors. Some seniors are really great and actually enjoy a cup of coffee and a chat. So yeah, that's just some of my experiences at internship. I hope people learned, and if there are any questions, you're welcome to message me. You can slide into DMs. I won't be freaked out. You can message me on Facebook if you want to know more. Thanks, Josh.
Dan, thank you so much. That was such a good talk. So refreshing to hear all of that, and I think you hit on a lot of things which people worry about. The YouTube chat has like 100 questions for you. So let me start. In fact, I think 50 of them are from Nina, but we're going to get through them. So she says, you did touch on it a little, but I'd still like to ask, you did say there are no registrars. Do you feel like at another hospital you would have had more teaching?
Yeah, so I think teaching is just like such a point that I think varies in every way that you're going to be. In terms of, like Shah was saying, sometimes where he was, maybe there was teaching going on, but he was so tired that he wasn't able to get involved. I had, the surgical department has amazing teaching. Although we link up with Peter Maritzburg and we have weekly conference calls, so we get academics there. Internal medicine, you had some lectures and things like that. I maybe didn't get the one-on-one teaching, that like 6th year or that 4th year, the dream that you have that the registrar sits with you and gives you all his blueprints of life and how you're going to be the best doctor in the world. I don't think I maybe got all of that. I think I did a lot of my teaching maybe on my own, like exactly like Shah was saying, if I had a patient, I read up on it. So yeah, teaching varies, and I think it varies wherever you go. If you're going to be that diligent student and you want that academic life, then yeah, maybe Ngwelezan is not where you should be going, because I think you might fall behind. Say you want to be the next prof of cardiology, maybe not. I still get scared of ECGs, but yeah.
Cool, thank you. Okay. Sarah asks, did you feel supported and like you had people to turn to if you were out of your depth?
Yeah, so I think support is such an important thing. I was quite lucky in the sense that I had a really good group of interns who supported me. I have some best friends who, even now, even though they're far away from Limpopo, I still like phone on a regular basis. If we're on call at the same time, it's 2 a.m., I'm still phoning them being like, what's the dose for this? Or how many like liters of fluid should I give this patient? So I think support, I got a lot of support from my intern group. I got very lucky. I made a lot of friends because I lived in a little town in Mtunzini where we actually were very good friends with a lot of our seniors, which I think is, like I was saying, make friends where you can. I had MOs that I lived with them. One of my roommates was my surgical senior. So if I was stuck, I phoned him straight away. If I had a resus, I'd be like, Henk, I'm struggling, please help me. And they would come. So I think that like it did make a difference. And we had some problems. Family medicine, which we did raise with the HPCSA, we felt a little unsupported. I had a few calls actually where I called alone. It was me and myself accepting patients from casualty, which is quite a scary thing. You kind of hold out for 16 hours and you wait for someone to come in the morning to relieve you. But I think that has changed now and there has been improvement, I think with the staff changes and things like that. So I can't speak now exactly on what's happening. But yeah, support is, you can sometimes make it for yourself, but also, yeah, I think you were supported, yeah, more than enough.
Cool. Another question from Nina. She says, what is the vibe like amongst your peers? Did you find that similar type of personalities end up at places that suit their vibes? And she went on and she said, not sure if my question makes any sense, but just in terms of social life, I imagine a certain type of person. Hey?
I know exactly what Zinina is talking about. That was one of the things that I realized, and I picked that up very quickly. There's a type of intern who goes to who chooses to go. I mean, obviously not everyone gets a choice. And I think that person is someone who enjoys adventure, exploring, going out. I chose it exactly because it wasn't just about being in the hospital. It was also about doing other things. So, for example, a whole group of us went to Midmar for the Midmar Mile, and we all swam the Midmar Mile together and camped there for the weekend. And that was something that we got excited to do. It was about 40, 50 of us who all went there. We would often do trips and things like that. There's like, you'll have the doctors who arrive with their little Bunsen burner making their coffee on the thing, and they love camping. I had doctors who would bring their like 4x4s and put their tent on their roof because it was better than the coil rooms. So yeah, there is a type of person I think that enjoys Ngwelezan. With that said, there are also people who didn't love camping and still loved Ngwelezan. So yeah, it does vary.
Cool. Let's answer some questions from the Zoom chat quick. Emma asks, how many interns are there at Ngwelezan?
We were a group of, so there were, in my years, there were about 12 to 15 interns per rotation. So that's there were about 70, 80 of us. I know there are more now. I know it has increased. I don't know the exact numbers. If you are wanting, I can find out for you or put you in contact with the intern there now. So it obviously has increased a lot. But yeah, it did vary as well. Sometimes the asynchronous cycles really puts challenges on different rotations. So yeah, but it is a big group. Sometimes though, we didn't have it as other hospitals do. I didn't often have calls where there were multiple interns on at a time. That was mainly surgery where you were maybe 2 interns on. Most of the time it was just 1 intern per rotation that called. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Zete asks, what are the most obvious challenges one should anticipate if they work in KZN?
Challenges, rural health is really difficult. You've got to remember patients are traveling so far to get to you. They've been on buses. I remember just like learning things like people wake up at like early hours of the morning to get on a bus to then sit outside and wait for it, only to get to the end of the day and you didn't actually get to see them and they didn't get treatment. The health demographics are different. I thought like diseases of lifestyle, they came from like, you still get really bad diabetes, hypertension, but you also get really, really bad HIV and really, really bad diseases of just malnutrition. We saw SAMS and things like that, which is really sad to be seeing. I think in rural KZN, I think that's one of the challenges. There are political problems in the hospitals. We refer to a hospital in Nkosi Albert, which is in Durban. There are challenges. It's an amazing hospital, but
to get patients referred, they are very difficult, and there's politics involved and who you know and things like that. And Peter Maritzburg, we also sometimes would refer to them because they would help us. But yeah, I think that's one of the challenges that I experience is just you're feeling a little isolated. And that is something that, yeah, it's really good to have a support within your hospital. Okay. I've got friends now who are ComServes in surrounding district hospitals who are just, yeah, going through scary things. And it's now so interesting to kind of hear the stories of where we were getting patients sent from. So you kind of really get a feel of like what's actually at the root of the problem.
Yeah. A follow-up to her question was, what are the highlights to look forward to in KZN?
Yeah, KZN is beautiful. It's amazing. The temperature, I never had winter. I don't think I wore a jersey. It was awesome. Even in the middle of winter, I think my rainiest day, I maybe put on a jacket. So yeah, I haven't actually experienced winter for 3 years. Even here, it's just so hot during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing. There's so many beautiful places to explore. KZN, the people are incredibly friendly. The Zulu culture, like the whole, like it's really, the sisters are amazing. Every morning starts with song. It's a really positive attitude, and I think because they know they have challenges, everyone kind of like just puts in their bit and does what they can. So yeah, I loved my time in KZN. My Zulu also really helps. So take your notes with you, it's going to help. You think that those little tuts that they give are useless, it really helps when you're trying to tell a patient to breathe. So yeah, it's good.
Awesome. Yeah. I've got a question here from Gerta. He's an intern now, and he said, how has being placed in rural for ComServe affected your plans for specializing, if you have those plans, that is? Do you think it would have been beneficial? Do you think you would have benefited more from a less rural ComServe career-wise?
So that was my plan. It has definitely caused a lot of challenges. And I know at the moment it's going to be a huge issue because they've put all the DIPEX and thing on hold. So your diplomas. So if you're wanting to specialize and make yourself look more attractive when applying for reg posts and things like that, one of the best ways to do it is either to do lots of courses and just become like the jack of all trades, or to start doing a diploma in an area that you're interested in. So if you're doing emergency medicine, that's your DIPEC, or if you're DA for anesthetics, things like that. But because of Corona, a lot of that has been put on hold. So I know when we all try and start applying for jobs now as just normal MOs, it is going to be challenging. So maybe being an academic institute where you could maybe put your foot in the door by getting contacts, or I know in the Western Cape sometimes it's super competitive, and if you know a post is available, it's so great to just be able to hand the person your CV straight away and say, I'd like a job, and then they know you and it's a face, instead of me, a random in Limpopo knocking on emails. So yeah, it is a challenge.
Okay. Sorry to the YouTube chat, I'm going to have to cut a few questions. I've got 9 minutes till ESCOM ends this show for us. So, but I do have some more here, I think more about rural. Kanisa asks, what defines a rural hospital?
So rural's based on what a hospital has. So in terms of like equipment-wise. So for example, we didn't have an MRI scan. So if I wanted MRIs, I had to send them somewhere else. We had a CT, but it would often break down. And it would be about how many super specialties that are available. Often rural hospitals don't have that. And then sometimes it is just very random. I know friends of mine at Peter Maritzburg, I mean, I'm sure you'll have chats from people from PMB, but there are 3 hospitals that you rotate around, and one of them is actually considered rural. So while you're working there, you get rural pay for those 3 or 4 months, and then you don't get it at other places. And so like they're within a driving distance. I mean, some of them are like 40 minutes away. Okay. So yeah, it's about location and demographics. I can't give you the formula that they use. My guess is that it's a random formula and they might not know. So, but don't hate on it. Rural pay is about 18%, but it varies. So like some places are less rural, so they'll get not as much as 18%. But yeah, I think in Guelazan you got 18% on top of what you get. Yeah, your rural allowance. Yeah.
Okay. And then I think the last question here from the Facebook, YouTube, can't remember what social media platform this is. It says, where can you find information about all the different courses available? I think it's referring to the ACLS and those courses you mentioned.
So it's actually quite interesting. I've also learned a lot about that now because I'm a little bit isolated and trying to look at ways to get out of Palabora. There are lots of different ways of doing it. I've recently signed up I'm doing my PULS at Red Cross with a company that do it. There's lots of different companies that do it. You can actually literally just Googling them online. It sounds so stupid saying that. But yeah, researching them online. When I was at Ngwelezan, we had a company that came and did their course actually at our hospital. So I did my ACLS at Ngwelezan and my BLS was there. I know some hospitals is actually included in a part of your internship, especially BLS. So some people actually get offered that because it's so important. You need to keep them up to date every 2 years. Otherwise, they become expired. And then someone just asked 80%, no, 18, 18. 80 would be lovely. I wouldn't mind that. It's quite easy actually to find. There's lots of different companies. I've actually gone blank on some of the popular names. They book out really quickly. I don't know if you've seen on the Facebook groups, people are always trying to buy or sell their courses for different dates, especially your ATLS, your trauma one, because it's quite a long course and it's quite expensive and you have to book quite far in advance because it's quite practical. So yeah, trying to get those if you are keen on those things.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dan. Gauta just said here, thanks, Dan. Good luck with the rest of your career. I know a lot of us don't realize you actually have to bulk your CV because it's actually difficult to get a job after ComServe. More of a comment, but I think
I'd add on that, like I have a lot of friends who are just struggling to get reg posts. There are waiting lists super long. Hospitals are, especially now during COVID, Corona. It's just, it's a really difficult thing because they aren't moving doctors as much as they were. And then MO posts, they freeze posts. If you want to move somewhere where you think it's more desirable, you actually end up having to sacrifice. You'll end up staying somewhere maybe that you didn't want to, just to get an MO post, which is a good salary, so that you can then apply for a reg job, because sometimes reg jobs just want experience. So it's really important to bulk your CV, to do as much as you can, because it's a competitive game out there.
Cool. I think that's it for the questions. If anyone else has any more, please post them now. Your ESCOM window is closing. Dan, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
No worries.
And thank you to Bobo and Tosha as well. It's been such a pleasure hearing from you guys and like demystifying what's ahead. You know, I think a lot of people are scared, and I don't necessarily. Yeah, I think from hearing from everyone tonight, it seems like you don't necessarily need to worry, but it's good to be prepared, and I think this helped everyone prepare. There is one more question. You spoke about Facebook groups. Where do we find the Facebook groups, Dan?
There is a Facebook. I'm trying to think of the name. It's so annoying because people post on it so much. Let me just actually look at it quickly now. You normally just people add you. I'm not even sure if you do get added. It's one of the best ways that if you're trying to look for a swap and to trying to get a swap. So say you get placed somewhere where you don't want to be placed. It's literally called Medical Internship South Africa. That's the name of the Facebook group. And I think it's the one that most people are on or use. If you are put in a situation where you're trying to find swaps to get out of the place that you are placed, I tried to swap out of mine. It didn't help. No one really wanted Limpopo. I think that is a really good resource. I know, I can't even remember what it's called. What's that funny, like similar to WhatsApp? I didn't use it. No, maybe it's so old. Maybe I'm just so old now that they don't use it anymore. But it's one of those big group chats that there are a lot of people on it at the same time, and that you can communicate a lot about trying to swap and get Telegram, thanks to Shah. So Telegram was a really good way of also trying to get information and about swapping and things like that. So I don't know how to get onto that. Maybe someone can shed more light on that. Sorry.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's gonna wrap things up. Like I said before, I just want to thank the three doctors again. We really, really, really appreciate it. I couldn't think of any way to virtually thank you. Like, I can't give you flowers through the internet, so I'm just gonna put a claps here in Zoom. But thank you so much, everyone, and thank you to everyone in YouTube for all the questions and for bearing with this trial run, and we do have another 2 internship talks. We have 4 speakers on Tuesday, and then we have 3 on Wednesday. We're covering a bit more. Today we were quite Joburg and KZN heavy, but we're going to be covering some Eastern Cape, and we're going to be covering the other provinces and other hospital complexes, and also more Durban and whatnot. So thanks so much, and hope everyone has a good evening, and that's it. Cool. Thank you, everyone, and if you have any questions for our doctors, I will make a post later with their email addresses or whatnot, and I'm sure they'll be okay with you chatting with them. Cool. Bye, everyone. I'm going to end the call and whatnot now.